We are very much familiar with famous unsolved cases that went cold. The Zodiac Killer, the Black Dahlia, and the Hall Mills murders, just to name a few. According to A&E, only 1 in 5 cold cases name a new suspect, let alone get solved. But that's not true for all cases. Sometimes it's forensic evidence, and sometimes it's merely re-examining clues, but cold cases do occasionally get solved. What's even better is when decades-old cases are solved due to new developments and findings. In this video, we'll be looking at 3 cold cases that were solved after 3 decades. These cases will blow your mind, so stay tuned. Our first case on the list finally reached resolution thanks to DNA and genealogy technology. It was on June 7, 1995, when 14-year-old Nicole Smith was making her way to school with her sister in northeast Atlanta. During their journey, Nicole realized she needed to go back home because she had forgotten a class assignment. Nicole reportedly took a popular shortcut through some nearby woods. But while there, she was confronted by a man who not only sexually assaulted and abused her, but shot her twice in the face, for no reason whatsoever. Security guards working nearby heard the shots, and when they ran toward the sounds of gunfire, they found young Nicole. She was quickly named because of the items in her book bag. Because she wasn't far from home, even her mother heard the gunshot, but she would only find out it was her dear daughter when police knocked on her door. It remained a cold case for decades, but last year a DNA test identified the perpetrator. In 2002, Detective Vince Velasquez reportedly reopened Nicole's case, and while DNA was recovered back in 1995, there hadn't been a ping on a match until 2004. That year, 13-year-old Betty Brown was sexually assaulted in East Point, Georgia, about 15 to 20 minutes away from Atlanta. This confirmed that whoever murdered Nicole was once again violently assaulting children. Velasquez worked on the case until his retirement in 2017. Detective Scott DeMeester took over the case and said it took 3 years to find a person of interest and get his DNA. The final breakthrough came through around Christmas of 2021. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation's forensics team matched the DNA profile to the suspect in both cases. The DNA profile belonged to 49-year-old Kelvin Arnold. While the family of Nicole Smith as well as Betty Brown had learned who was responsible for the teen's callous murders, the news didn't bring the closure that they had hoped because Arnold died on August 29, 2021. He was in hospice due to kidney and liver failure. According to Nicole's mother, Aquinelia, it was a bittersweet moment. She said with tears in her eyes,
"I never imagined this person to be deceased. So many unanswered questions that I had for him that I could never answer or get answers."
Betty Brown was there too and shared the bittersweet moment with Aquinelia. Facing Nicole's mother, she added, "We didn't get the closure we needed, but we got some kind of resolution." This next case is something not for the lighthearted. In 1986, Jessica's mother, Deborah Gutierrez, woke up to a parent's nightmare. Her daughter, Jessica Gutierrez, was in her room and a window was open. The child's sister said that a man with a magic hat and the beard took her last night. Police investigated the girl's abduction for decades, but no charges were brought. No one knew what happened to the little girl, who was just 4 years old. The case had gone unsolved for 35 years. Finally, in January, Thomas McDowell was charged with murder in the disappearance of Jessica Gutierrez, who is still missing and presumed dead. McDowell also faces charges of kidnapping and first-degree burglary when he was extradited from his home in North Carolina to South Carolina, where the kidnapping occurred. Authorities say they took a fresh look at the case last September along with FBI agents and analysts with the Child Abduction Rapid Development Team and prosecutors from the South Carolina Attorney General's office. Lexington County Sheriff Jay Kuhn said law enforcement looked at more than 3,500 case file pages and interviewed more than 125 people. Kuhn said in a statement, "Because of the work we did, coming together as a team, we were able to sort and connect more pieces of the puzzle about what happened to Jessica all those years ago." Authorities said McDowell lived in Lexington County in 1986 when Jessica disappeared. According to an arrest warrant, a fingerprint found was later identified as belonging to McDowell. Arrest warrants confirm that investigators have not found the young girl's body. Deborah Gutierrez said she has kept in touch with the team from the Federal Bureau of Investigation that had taken up Jessica's case last year, so she wasn't too surprised when she got a call from them. She likely thought it would be another incremental update on the case that had been a constant in her life for more than 35 years. Instead, the agents were calling to tell her an arrest had finally been made. For Deborah, it was also a bittersweet moment. Imagine getting justice for your baby girl after 35 years. I cannot even fathom the pain the parents must have gone through. Despite finally having a definitive answer about what happened to Jessica, Gutierrez said that she still has a long way to go to overcome the sense of dread the mystery has left with her for more than 3 decades. In an interview, she stated, "My older daughter said, maybe now we can pull the curtains back and let in some sunshine. But I'm not there yet. For every one of him out there, there's 90 more behind him." But she still gets some satisfaction from knowing the man accused of taking her daughter will finally have to answer for it. Her final sentence was, "I can't get rid of all of them, but I got one of them off the street." What a brave-hearted woman she is. The first 2 stories were quite gruesome, but this one definitely takes the cake. If you're still with us, then get ready for another cold case that was solved this year. On October 24, 1994, an elderly woman was found partially buried in the desert in the Thousand Palms area in eastern Riverside County. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department and the county coroner's office responded to the scene to investigate. The older woman was wrapped in a white plastic sheet, and investigators estimated she'd been dead for approximately 3 weeks. The coroner's office used all available resources at the time to identify the woman, including having her DNA entered into the California Department of Justice Missing and Unidentified Persons system. Unfortunately, no identification was made. Her death was ruled a homicide, even though her autopsy results proved inconclusive. At the time, DNA from the woman's decomposing remains yielded no evidentiary leads as to her possible identity. Officials publicly released a composite sketch of the mystery woman in the 1990s, which also proved unsuccessful. The case ultimately went cold. Because authorities were unable at the time to identify the victim and due to the lack of leads into what may have happened, this became a cold case. Decades passed before detectives caught a break. In 2021, cold case homicide investigators sent a bone sample from the remains to the Texas-based private DNA lab, Othram Inc., where a DNA profile was developed. The enhanced DNA profile was later uploaded and cross-referenced across publicly available genealogical sites, such as GED Match. Further forensic genealogical research ultimately pinpointed someone as a possible relative of the murdered California woman. Investigators interviewed a man and discovered he'd been estranged from both his parents for years. His mother, Patricia Cavallaro, would have been 57 at the time of her death. Now in his late 50s, the man was stunned to learn that his mother had been murdered. He told law enforcement his mother and father had been living together in Downey, California at the time of her disappearance. His father died in 2017. Despite Cavallaro's death in 1994, the California mother wasn't reported missing for almost another decade. Years later, fraud investigators noticed Social Security checks in her name that were still being cashed, but suspected another individual was signing them. The investigation into Cavallaro's murder is open and ongoing. Detectives are now seeking information from the public regarding anyone who may have known or had possible contact with the Cavallaro family in the mid-90s. Authorities are also actively searching for the Cavallaro's daughter, Victoria, who they suspect may be homeless, and could provide further clues as to her mother's disappearance. When we have more information and there are developments in the case, we will definitely let you know more about it. Until then, let us know what you think could have killed Cavallaro in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for your regular dose of whodunits, and don't forget to leave a like.